Okay, so I just saw My Little Pony Season 6, Episode 14, The Cart Before the Ponies. And when this first came out, nobody knew what the title Cart Before the Ponies could have implied, except for the fact that the saying was a reference to putting your priorities in the wrong place. When the synopsis rolled around and we saw the flips for the commercials for the promo for the season, we saw this is clearly going to be some kind of Mario Kart thing, and I was already knowing this was going to be a disaster of an episode because they're introducing modern technology into Equestria. Well, it turns out these cars aren't as modern as I thought. They still feel a little bit too modern. And then for the rest of the episode, we got a cliche that has been used in everything from Hey Arnold to Dennis the Menace to even the Little Rascals. An episode where kids want to compete in a race but just want to have the fun of racing. They get the help from adults and the adults want to win at all costs. At some point, one of the carts gets an overly elaborate design, including special tricks and gadgets to help the cart cheat its way to victory, and then everything goes wrong, and some background character takes the prize instead of the main characters because they couldn't learn to cooperate and let the kids just have fun and allowed the adults to ruin the whole experience. That's basically what happened here, except the twist this time was that nobody won and they had to do the race over again, with the kids finally getting their way and the adults realizing that they were wrong and should better stay out of it. It was a very predictable episode with a lot of fun stuff being in the background. Spotting Derpy as a really brilliant joke that got an honest laugh out of me, and seeing some of the different car designs was oh so nice. But that's really not where your attention should be in a good episode. Your attention should be on the foreground characters in the main cast, not the background ads. It was just way too predictable, way too of a I've seen this done before kind of episode. If I was a kid and I was seeing this for my first time and had not seen Hey Arnold or Little Rascals or Dennis the Menace or any of the other numerous shows where the same exact plot has been done before, I probably would have enjoyed it quite a bit more. This is really an episode for someone who doesn't watch a lot of TV, as opposed to someone who watches so much TV they've seen this story done exactly this way over and over and over and over again. No twists whatsoever, and a song that hasn't stuck in my head yet, but wasn't quite the worst thing either. Overall, I feel like this episode was trying way too hard to sell some kind of toy concept or some kind of video game, both of which I feel have been done before thanks to the fandom, but I feel like Hasbro's trying to push some kind of official product on us, and it's not really working. It would be interesting to see what the fan works do with this and what kind of products do come from all of this. Overall, it's a well-told story. There's nothing to anger me, bore me, or to call the characters out for being out of character. All it is a story that you've heard before over and over and over again. So it works best as a story to entertain those who haven't heard this story before. The less you've heard this old trope play out in an episode, the more enjoyment you'll get out of it. And if you've heard this trope played over and over and over again, or if you just never liked this trope, you're not gonna really care for this episode too much. It had some great stuff in the background, but the main action of it wasn't so great. A few other observations. The use of the chicken imagery with anything Scootaloo did is definitely playing into what Hasbro knows the fandom says about the characters. It really makes me wish that the fandom would have some fun with Hasbro and just start saying things just to see how many things the fandom says gets worked into the episodes. Appearances of Derpy were appreciated, and the inclusion of some new background ponies is going to feed some fan fictions. The concept of adults trying to win their children's competition at any cost is nothing new, and is something that really does happen in real life. Unfortunately, there are many adults who will try to win whatever competition their children is in, so that they, the adults, can have the excitement of winning without caring about whether the children really deserved to win or really wanted to win. The other thought that I have is that this is something I can somewhat relate to myself. When I was in Boy Scouts, I made Pinewood Derby cars myself. Not the type that you ride in. I've never seen anyone have that experience, but I have seen the experience of making really small cars, like toy-sized, out of blocks of wood that you have to cut yourself, and race them downhill. When we first started out with this, my dad would carve the car himself and do all the work himself and put little weights on the car so it would go faster. After a few years of doing things this way, and me always winning because he always knew how to make a car mechanically superior to everybody else who was just carving blocks of wood, the scout troop began having other things thrown into their rules, such as most historically accurate and most creative, just as we see in this episode. I eventually started winning prizes for cars that weren't the fastest or most aerodynamic, and started focusing on winning prizes for cars that were historically accurate or highly creative in their appearance. And I eventually did manage to get prizes in all three categories. So the prizes being handed out in this episode are, at least in my particular case, very realistic as well. The ending of the episode was also a little bit different from what we're used to. If this was the trope exactly as it normally plays out, we would have seen Snip, Snails, and Twist, or maybe Dinky, win the entire race. But what we got instead was all of the racers being eliminated and the race getting a nice do-over, wherein during that do-over we don't see who wins, and the ending is left ambiguous for us to imagine the outcome. The episode also has a lot of missed opportunities, such as, since this was something that was very Mario Kart in style, it could have gone a lot more Mario Kart-like and shown the characters using various gimmicks to knock the other cars off the road. Although we did get a little bit of that when Rainbow Dash was pushing her way ahead before her wheel predictably breaks off. And we got a little bit more of that with Rarity upright cheating with the Swan that could extend its wings to block other cars from passing her. But there certainly wasn't anything like the classic blue shell or banana peel or oil slick or whatever. We also could have gone a little more wacky races style, exaggerated the style of the cars so that they were all crazy and creative, like the Swan Boat or the giant Phoenix car that Scootaloo made at the end of the segment. We could have even taken more influence from Wacky Races and had that little Muttley laugh at some point in the episode, but perhaps that might have been too much of a reference to another series. Would these changes have helped things out? Maybe not. It might have still been the same story, but I do feel like they're missed opportunities. And I also find myself wondering if there's toys or video games out there that are carrying forward this idea of ponies in race cars. I did some searching. I did find some videos suggesting this sort of idea is nothing new to both the fandom and the toy line, but I'm not exactly certain which of these, if any of them, are the ones that are particularly being sold by this particular episode. It just feels very toy commercial to me. And this is one of the times where the toy being advertised wasn't advertised quite as cleverly as some of the other toys that have been advertised in previous episodes. Anyhow, that's about all I have to say for myself for right now. Thank you for watching, and good night.